In Springfield, they're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. People on Springfield, please don't eat my cats. Why would you do that? It's something else. People on Springfield, please don't eat my dog. Cause I'm family of the place to eat. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. In Springfield. All right. Welcome to another fucked up version of the Dames Marv show that we call Political Talk because we are unimaginative sons of bitches. What you just heard there was, God, I should totally credit the actual person that did that. But like I said, we're not prepared. We're not professional. We're just three dudes rolling through it. The reason I played that clip is that was from the debate, obviously. The only debate that we're going to get, because the two moderators of the debate were paid $1 million each by the Democratic Party to host the debate, and Donald Trump just won't stand for it, even though he won, clearly won. Why am I playing that clip out of anything? First of all, yeah, let me tell you this. I'm Dames Marvs. We got half an hour here with Major Tommy and Uncle Russ, and this is the second time we've done this this conversation. Okay, so claims were made on the campaign trail of Haitian immigrants in Springfield, Ohio, 20,000 strong, in a city of 60,000, mind you, are eating the dogs, eating the cats, eating the pets of the people that live there. Well, just this week, I mean, they fact-checked them live and said there have been literally no police reports of this happening. No claims of this are in existence. You're full of shit. But that's, again, they were paid off, remember. They were paid $1 million to discredit Donald Trump. Well, along the campaign trail this week, J.D. Vance said this: if I have to create stories so that the American media actually pays attention to the suffering of American people, then that's what I'm going to do. And it was in direct response to the cat and dog story. Uncle Russ.
Yes, sir.
Thoughts on that?
Well, initially thought I was complete horse shit, and that's pretty much my conclusion now. I did a little research. There is a possibility that in the entire history of the state that there may have been 2 calls to the police about geese being taken from a pond in a public park. Those were recorded, but there was no arrest made and no evidence found. Now, in the history of migrants, is it possible that somebody ate a dog or a cat? Well, it's entirely possible. My best friend in high school that I grew up with, he ate a cat one time. So it is sometimes done, and but I really don't think this is a problem. I don't think this has to be something the government needs to prioritize.
No, the problem,
I don't think it's a big issue.
The problem, in fact, is lying about shit like this, because even though he said this, Tom, there's millions of people that are not going to accept that he admitted that that's a lie.
Right.
No, he's not going to face any consequences for this, except at the ballot box, maybe. The real problem with this, of course, is it causes all kinds of problems for law enforcement, for other political leaders, government leaders. I mean, we've had since he said that, we've had 33 bomb scares in the city of Springfield, Ohio. Keep in mind that these people are here legally
Right.
at the invitation of the city. They're working, they're paying taxes, they're just trying. And so now what do we have? We have people hunkered down in their homes. We have kids who can't go to school. We have City Hall being closed down. We have the governor of Ohio, who's a Republican, coming out and saying that this is all garbage. And yet, and in some ways it's probably good, because what it does is it just reminds people of, if you vote for this guy, you're asking for 4 more years of this bullshit.
And look, I don't want to be a guy that's sitting here constantly on a high horse, making insane claims against the other side. But I just want the whole goal of this is to point out how ridiculous it is.
Yes.
And we'll move on from this cats and dogs thing and probably never talk about it again because we don't need to. But this is something I encountered on X this week. Tim Young says, I'm going to call you out by name, Tim, because you are a jackass. If the story about Haitians eating cats isn't real, then how did the moderators of the ABC debate know specifically to reach out to the city manager of Springfield, Ohio? Well, Tim, in case you can't read because there are other significant signs of your lack of intelligence, I will tell you what my response is. This is how news reporting works. You get a story told to you. You then go and investigate that story, or call the city manager. And then when you find out that it's not true, you are then able to report that news as a reporter. I can't even believe that's a question that this person put in front of millions of people as if he were to be taken seriously. Absolutely ridiculous. All right, we're at 23 minutes. I'm going to move on to the next thing I want to talk about, which is just equally stupid, you guys. Unpopular opinion, this guy says. Dr. Simon Goddick. Dr. Simon Goddick on Twitter. X. Fuck that. It's Twitter. Fuck you. It's not X, it's Twitter.
Twitter.
Unpopular opinion, Dr. Simon Goddick says. At Goddick Kettle, Ketal. Unpopular opinion. There was never a deadly pandemic, just fear-driven chaos. Do you agree? Before I allow you to respond, I'm going to read the top response. 100%. It was a government experiment. The flu rebranded, so they had a precursor to create and distribute the vaccinations. The vaccinations that didn't exist before this entire thing happened. What the fuck are you talking about, American Papa Bear? These people are verified check marks on Twitter. And then Dr. Simon repeats, it was an IQ test and we passed. Oh my Lord. Tom, I'm going to let you go first on this one.
Man, where do you start? There's no fix for stupid, right? Just so, number one, just because somebody's got the title doctor in front of their name doesn't mean shit. Clearly. I don't even know how to respond to that sort of stuff, because, just ask the people who have family members that are dead now because of COVID. And we're talking millions and millions and millions of people. See, this is what these folks don't understand. This was a worldwide pandemic. I'm 68 years old. Never in my lifetime have I seen semi-trucks, refrigerated semi-trucks, backed up to hospitals in the United States because they didn't have room in the morgue anymore for the bodies. To say that this was just the flu, this was just a thing so they could get, it's just, I don't know. These people are crazy.
Russ?
Can't add much to that, except that I also read a lot of statements like that on Facebook and also on Twitter. And I think these people are living in a self-induced hallucination. They are living in a state of cognitive dissonance. Their senses are telling them that this is the way the world works, but their brains have been filled with this implant that refuses to acknowledge reality. These people are incapable of acknowledging objective reality. They are, what's the word for it? Stupid, ignorant. I mean, some of them are educated people too, but they're still fucking stupid.
Can I jump in on this?
Yeah.
Just one more thing. I mean, I think really what it boils down to, guys, is it's the difference between rational thinking and emotional thinking. And it really goes to the heart of what's always gone on in the history since ever since Homo sapiens, became a species, is you've got a certain part of our brains that think rationally and another part that thinks emotionally. And whichever one of those is dominant is probably going to control your worldview. And I think you got a lot of that going on in a lot of different areas now.
Yeah. We're under 20 minutes now. We're about 19 minutes and 30 seconds. I want to talk about something that happened this week. A second assassination attempt on the former president's life. Are we done now? Are there more coming? You guys know anything about the second person, the second perp, we'll call him? Tom?
The only thing I know is, of course, what I've read in the press, but he seems to be another one of these individuals that has some sort of a grandiose personality disorder. I mean, he's been in trouble with the law a lot. He's a convicted felon from North Carolina. He had this grandiose plan that he was going to bring Afghan fighters. What the hell he ever thought he was going to get Afghans to go to Ukraine for? That's like the dumbest thing ever. But I mean, this is kind of the thinking that you get. Um, but at some point in the discussion on this, I want to talk about, I mean, we're always bashing the right wing for some of the response that they've had to this. I want to talk about some of the ridiculous crap that left wingers are putting out about this. We want me to do that now? Yeah. I mean, so you've got a group of people again on Twitter that are saying, oh, this is all staged. Both these assassination attempts were staged. Trump paid him money to go out there and pretend he was going to assassinate him. And just all this, I don't know what it is that people just can't seem to accept reality. But I mean, I go back to even the Lee Harvey Oswald thing. Sure, there's lots of unanswered questions and stuff about it, but get over it, folks. There's questions we're never going to have answered about that. And it's to the point where we had a famous and very talented Hollywood producer make a movie, JFK, about the assassination attempt that really is very, very dubious in a lot of the things that are in there. And there's something about people that just can't accept the fact that some people are crazy and they do crazy things.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, though. I'm not one to jump down the conspiracy theory rabbit hole. But I do listen to things and I want to know what conspiracy theories are out floating around. And I gotta tell you guys, obviously I don't want him to be shot. I don't want him to become a martyr forevermore. But most of all, he's a human being, and in that there's something precious about a life. That said, had he died in either of these, I would have had a sense of relief, and that's just me being honest about like what my soul is. I
Sure.
I would not be happy, but I would definitely have had a sense of relief. And now going back to the conspiracy part of this, before I let you go, Russ, here. I do find it extremely odd the way that the Secret Service reacted on the first attempt.
Yeah,
And I mean, I've seen these guys in action, and they're no bullshit. They don't listen to the president. They are not following his orders. If his life is coming under danger, they do what they're supposed to do. And they allowed him to be uncovered for multiple seconds so he
Right.
can do this weird ass iconic, again, it's iconic, whether you want it to be or not. That photo of him under the flag with his fist up, going fight, fight, fight,
Yeah,
fucking iconic.
sure.
And the last thing that I want to talk about before we is all dependent on this whole part of the conversation that we're having now. It does lead me to believe, or not believe, but to be at least open to some of these theories, because in my estimation, I'm a Secret Service agent. The first thing I'm doing is I'm getting on top of him, and he ain't getting up until the coast is clear. Period. That is their job. I don't understand how any of that happened. Russ?
I agree with you. You know, I hate to sound like a conspiracy buff too, but there's just these two attempts are just too weird. You know, you can very rationally come to the conclusion that the Secret Service isn't worth a flying fuck. They can't do their job. Uh, Another thing that's bizarre. Uh, I stand to be corrected if I'm wrong. If this was a, you know, I hear one report that says this was an unscheduled stop at this golf course. It wasn't on his regular agenda, but had just been come up with at the last minute. And then I hear another report that the gunman was laying in wait for overnight since like 1 o'clock in the morning, lying in wait at that spot. Now, something here is not adding up, and we're obviously in both cases of these assassination attempts. There's no way we're getting the truth. There's no way the media knows the truth. But there's something extremely bizarre going on. This is just, you know, I know random things do happen. And, you know, I more than ever, the older I get, the more I believe in the absolute randomness of events. But at the same time, we're hardwired by evolution to be pattern seeking mammals. And I look at these things and one begins to see patterns. And there's questions to be asked. I just have a lot of questions.
So you're
I
saying
agree with you. I don't want Trump dead. Had he been shot, I also would have been relieved because it means, well, we're going to have to start this election over from scratch. And starting this election over from scratch, I think would probably give us two better candidates than we have right now. I could be
you're
wrong.
saying everything's a pattern. So you're of the opinion that this will happen again. All right, I'm not even gonna let you follow up to that. Go ahead, Tom. Do you have anything closing thoughts on this second assassination attempt?
I agree. I agree with Russ on one thing. We don't know the full truth, but I think the reason we don't may not be the same as what he does. I think the reason we don't is because the Secret Service, all the government agencies are in cover their ass mode, and
Yeah.
I'm less inclined to think there's a conspiracy, and I'm more inclined to think that it's human error and they don't have enough staff. Maybe they're not trained well enough. It's, you know, this is the first two assassination attempts of political leaders at the presidential level that we've had since the 1970s. So to say that that's right, and that was 81 or 82. So I take that back, but it's still over 40 years. So
Yeah,
I think they're rusty. I don't know. I they're clearly not doing their job well. I'll just leave it at that.
it's very true. All right, so you're not backing down from the stupid on both sides on the conspiracy theories, but you're not unwilling to entertain something that actually makes sense.
Yes, exactly. Show, you know, again, rational thought requires show me the evidence.
All right. So before I move on to the final topic that is basically revolves around that entire discussion, I want to talk about the swing states here for a bit. Can we name them all? We got go ahead, Tom. Oh, you're better at that than I am.
Nevada, Arizona, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia, North Carolina.
Okay. So we're looking at polling numbers, which we discussed in the last show. How I've never been polled in my life, and I don't necessarily really give a shit. But a lot of this is tightening up considerably in the polls. Tom, I'll let you tell what you've heard this week.
Well, the Iowa poll case, of course, came out on Sunday, and that's getting some national attention for a couple of reasons. The first, I mean, the big reason is that it shows a 14% improvement in the Democratic candidate's performance, Harris against Trump instead of Biden against Trump. And it's showing a 4-point lead for Trump in Iowa at this point. That's effectively within the margin of error. And the Des Moines Register poll is recognized as being one of the best polls out there. Very highly respected. I've got a family member who actually is on a first name basis and talks to the person who runs the poll, who said, yeah, these numbers are real. So I think the fact that Iowa may be moving into play is very significant. And then the other one really interesting, this came up either yesterday or the day before yesterday, was a poll in Alaska. Alaska hasn't voted for a Democratic presidential candidate in 60 years. And yet a poll out shows a lead for Trump of only 5%. Now, Trump may win both of these states, but the fact that the numbers have moved that far, I think, indicates the direction of the race. And like I said last week, I don't think it's close. I think her lead is gaining, and I think, going back to the first part of the show, I think the extreme nonsensical attention-seeking comments and manipulations of the two Republican candidates is going to intensify over the next 30 days before election. This is not going to be pretty.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you on most of that, but I also am aware that most of the time people are saying, "Oh, this debate is pointless. Everyone's mind's made up. Nothing's changing. No one's switching sides anymore." But then we find out stuff like this, and it's like, you know what? You can't really say that. I mean, everything that you do, every move that you make in this election period is going to have an effect somewhere.
Well,
Positive.
most debates you don't have candidates getting off script as much, but James Carville said a couple weeks ago, Americans love to see a train wreck or a car wreck. And that's what they saw last week. And so I think that is moving some numbers.
Yeah. Russ, anything on that?
Well, I feel like it's starting to switch here in Iowa too. You can even see a little bit of evidence around the neighborhood where I live, whereas one household in particular, they had a gigantic Trump sign and a whole bunch of small Trump signs and about a half a dozen American flags on prominent display in their front yard for all the way through the Biden administration up until about 2 weeks ago, and it's gone. So I said, there's at least one person there who, for some reason, is not, they're not being as public about their support. I think that there's the smarter people, are figuring out that they got duped. I think that especially among some evangelicals, that the regret about voting for Donald Trump began immediately after he started his presidency. Now his numbers among white evangelicals are substantially less than they were 4 years ago. And that has been such an important base for him to win this election. If he tracks as low as 50% of that population in some of these areas, he's going to lose. And I'm encouraged by that. But I don't want to get my hopes up. I think we still need to be vigilant and be sure to vote and vote early and not let our guard down. I don't want to assume that Trump is going to lose, and also be realistic enough to realize that, you know, if Kamala wins, you know, it's not all of a sudden going to be living in freaking paradise. You know, we've got a lot of very, very serious problems as a country.
All right, we're under 5 minutes now. So the final thing that I want to talk about is basically a culmination of everything that we've talked about already. And in our last show, we were scratching our heads, basically going, how on earth can people vote for somebody that has done X, Y, Z? And we were just wringing our hands and not understanding how. I think I've settled a little bit of that. I've answered some of those questions just based on some, I don't want to call it research. I just watched shit, and I had like a revelation. And maybe a lot of people knew this already, but here's the thing, you guys, that I've discovered. When you look at these people that are voting for Trump, and they seem like they're just ignorant, stupid, brainless people, but that's not all of them, right? There's some smart people that I know, and if we could just get past the economy argument and just help them understand that the economy is not going to get better under Donald Trump. In fact, it's going to start going in the other direction. And I mean, there's economists all over the place that are comparing the two plans, and people are like, all I know is I'm getting taxed like crazy right now. And then you tell them we are under the Trump tax plan until the end of 2026.
Exactly.
And that, I mean, so that's not going to change. All right, it's going to continue. If you want to change in that plan, it's coming, but you got to vote for Harris. And here's the actual numbers. You're going to save like, you know, $2,000 off of over Trump's tax plan, most Americans. And the rich people are going to be the ones footing the bill for the new plans that we have, right?
I could use
Here's the thing that I discovered before I let you go. Not let you go, but let you, retort. When Trump survived assassination attempt number 1, he became ordained by God to run this country in these people's minds, because that's what they're being told. I can't find a record of this anywhere, like a Bible or a written material.
Nope.
It's all coming from the higher ups in the churches.
Yeah.
That he is ordained to. His survival of that was all the proof they needed to know that he's the one. So when you are ordained by God, in these people's minds, everything that he's done prior to that does not matter. So our number one argument, how can you vote for so-and-so when he's done X, Y, Z, goes out the window because it doesn't matter. He's ordained by God and you obey God. Russ, go ahead.
I don't think God gives a flying fuck about who the president of the United States is. I really don't believe it. I don't believe these people know God. I don't think they understand God. I've read the Bible numerous times, and I love to take these people on. I've read the Bible through completely at least 12 times in my life, so I'm not completely unfamiliar, and I've listened to thousands of hours of preaching. of many, many different styles. And believe me, these people have no clue. And it's sad. There's even Trump churches and Trump preachers and Trump prophets now. Right over there in Omaha, Nebraska, we've got Hank Kuhnman, one of the worst of the worst of the bunch, who has a big rally every Sunday in his megachurch about how God has ordained Trump to rule the United States of America and the world. And I don't know, man. I tell you, these people, I think that their cheese has done slipped right off the cracker, and I don't think they've completely lost whatever faith they had. And maybe they used to be Christian, but now they're Trumpists.
Do you want to give Tom these last 10 seconds? You have more than 10 seconds, but let's go. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm not going to get into the religious part of it because that's, as Russ indicated, a whole nother discussion. But if you look at the history of popular vote for president in the United States, it's rare that a candidate wins by more than 4 or 5%. Most elections throughout our history, even those that had huge moral implications for the nation, such as 1860, the Civil War, slavery, 1872 Reconstruction. I mean, you can go all through. Most of these are decided by less than 5%. The largest landslide in history on a popular vote margin was Lyndon Johnson, got 61% of the popular vote in 1964. And so what that means is if you take 10 random people from the United States and put them in a room at any given time in an election cycle, the maximum that anyone's going to get is 6 out of those 10. And you're still going to have 4 people there who are always going to disagree. And they will come up with whatever rationale they need to justify not changing their mind.
Well, folks, unfortunately, the half hours go by super fast. In case you're wondering what's going on here, that's my highway to heaven. That's my Halloween costume. I'll be going as Victor French's character from Highway to Heaven. But I don't know his name, so I'm just going to say Mr. Edwards from House on the Prairie. Look, I mean, it's pretty good. All I have to do is put on a plaid shirt.
That's little Joe Cartwright.
And yeah, well, he was in
Little House on the Prairie too.
Little House on the Prairie, but also Bonanza, but he was in Gunsmoke.
And also Michael Landon made his motion picture debut when I Was a Teenage Werewolf.
I'll edit that out, folks.
Yeah, the title role. It's a good movie.
So I want to try and do this again Thursday, maybe. We missed this Thursday because I didn't know that you guys were interested, and then you're all of a sudden like, but I was watching football and I was like, I can't change this now, but we'll try and do this again. It really depends on what topics we have or what comments you guys have. But anyway, that's a wrap. We got to get the F out of here. From Uncle Russ to Major Tommy to Michael Landon and Mr. Edwards and myself and whoever keeps fucking texting me during the show. See you next time.